Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here in this beautiful cold weather. I thank each one of you who has assembled here today in the wind, in the cold. And it's so great to see so many people voice their concerns of the Broadway development and stand in solidarity. It shows me that we are ready. We want this political power back to ordinary people to make Vancouver a livable city. Our biggest controversy right now is housing crisis versus affordability crisis. Why are we asking to pause and revisit the Broadway plan? Because we are being fed the same story over and over again. There is a housing crisis, and we are believing it. No one is tracking the empty new buildings covered with darkness in the city due to unaffordable rents. A one bedroom in the city, which is 500 square foot, is for $3,000 plus utilities and is not the housing we need. It is unaffordable for local people and families who cannot live in these chicken coops, so-called luxury apartments. We need a housing where we can live, we can breathe, and we can afford without working ourselves to death. Here, here. The Broadway plan will be evicting a lot of people who are already living in affordable housing. A lot of seniors in this area will be displaced from their existing communities and will have to move out of the city. Families with kids who are already growing in a lifeless society where parents have to work 2 to 3 jobs to support the increasing cost of living will be displaced. The Broadway plan is going to really speed up the growing housing crisis of seniors and middle-class families. The impact on the seniors who are already feeling the uncertainty in their lives is absolutely disgraceful of how seniors are treated by our own elected officials who cannot afford to live with dignity and respect in the city. Now, my question is, how did we get to this state of affairs? Because I remember when the elderly in our society were very well respected, when people held doors for older people, and when senior citizens were thought of wise and insightful. People looked up to them as someone who has been around the clock a couple of more times, and therefore they held a certain level of knowledge in their life banks, and society thought was useful. Now, I'm going to share a small, very short story of how I brought a community together of the seniors to speak up, stand up for their rights for living in Vancouver. I'm a tenant in Kerrisdale Fontainebleau Apartments at 5455 for 16 years, which is a beautiful community in the neighborhood, mixed of elderly, retired, working, and young couples. Some of the older people have lived in this building for over 40 years. The building was sold to a company called Largo Investment. The company has a long history of failing to deal with property issues despite being one of the wealthiest corporations of Canada, and often requires intervention of city or provincial authorities to force compliance. Just 1 year after acquiring Fontainebleau building, a sign of rezoning was erected in the north garden of the building, which sits on top of our parking lot, garbage disposal area, bike storage, and electrical room. The existing building is approximately 5 years old, and proposed towers would not only deteriorate the building, it would also cause many health challenges to our senior residents. Our biggest challenge was the attack on our vulnerable citizens. They were not computer literate, and we needed a community to support them. Our seniors were anxious, and they could not voice their concerns against this wealthy corporation who was in cahoots with every level of government. We started arranging meetings to empower our residents by collaborating with members from VTU, educating our seniors about their rights as tenants. Numerous letters sent to the mayor and its council were never responded to us. I needed guidance to advocate and lead my Fontainebleau family, where I have raised my 2 daughters for the past 16 years. I was only replied by Colleen Hardwick, who stands here, who was at the council, and she connected me to her friend Randy Helton, who has helped us to expose the problems of our residents against the corrupt corporations. There is a saying which I really believe: it takes a village to raise a child. Our battle took a strong turn under the guidance of Colin Hardwick, Randy Helton, Unite Here Local, VTU, local media, our neighbors, and we arranged 5 protests on the streets, marching the streets of Kerrisdale, which has never been seen. Every senior on their wheelchair was out on the streets. A big shout out. We could not have achieved this milestone without forming that community. We turned the tide during the public hearing, and we are still fighting for our seniors. The biggest joke after our public hearing was that the city approved senior housing strategy, which emphasizes on improving the lives of seniors and letting them stay in their familiar communities to make Vancouver a more equitable place for our older people. The goal of the city of Vancouver is to ensure older people age and live in their existing communities. I find that really conniving, playing with the emotions of vulnerable people. The city is outrightly lying to your face. I am here today to share this story. I see the destruction of neighborhoods and communities in front of my eyes. I feel the pain of the vulnerable people who will be uprooted from their communities. We need to improve our understanding the consequences of an aging society and have communities involved in policy decisions. We need thoughtful leaders who understand the balance and well-being of society when developing these policies with innovative solutions to involve our older people in the community. It's time to elect leaders from a community to advocate for our seniors and working citizens in this country, not just to voice the concerns, but sit on the table to challenge and fight as a common person, advocate for these ludicrous policies pushed down our throat, creating unrest in people's life who are working every day to put food on their table. Seniors who have worked all their lives, fought for this country, paid their dues, and cannot afford to die, live in peace in their final days of life. What is the society we are living in? We need transparency and accountability. What I've noticed in the political party has unveiled their election platforms addressing critical aspects of senior care, but nothing is done once the election is over. No party is running on a platform providing for seniors beyond the bland statements about honoring our seniors. We need to build a roadmap to cohesive community leadership to help government to promote sustainable decisions. I am here. Yes, I want to see the growth, which includes human dignity and welfare of working people and our seniors. I see you, I hear you, and I'm here for you.
Yeah.